Hello and welcome to the Llama Commerce Show. I'm Kurt Theobald, CEO at Classy Llama.
And I'm Brett Curry, lead strategist here at Classy Llama.
And as always, we are demystifying e-commerce into digestible, actionable bites.
And having a good time doing it.
Really a great time.
Yes, fantastic
and
time.
Now I'd like to make a very special announcement. That is that we have Ott here, as always, the one-arm table tennis trophy player, as always. And it's not getting boring at all because he's new every day. Look, he'll high-five the camera right now.
Boom. You never know what Ott's going to do. And Ott is awarded to whoever gives the most value on the show, which is typically our guests. Occasionally it's us, but that's only if it's just you and I.
Because we feel bad for our guests.
We feel bad for our guests.
It's the whole thing. We do the same thing every time, basically, except we talk about new stuff. That's the only thing.
It makes your guests feel good, though. It definitely
Yes, feel good. They don't actually get to keep it, but they get the emotional.
And we send them swag in exchange for allowing us to keep the trophy.
Yeah, yeah. So we have an amazing guest today, a good friend of ours, and really he runs a very successful podcast.
Yes,
I would say that our podcast is moderately successful.
Well, we don't actually
have fun.
We don't know. We don't know.
We
could have a podcast that is far more successful than Austin's, and we just don't know. Yeah. We know we get, sometimes into 3 figures on views on YouTube. 3 figures.
We have 3 figures worth of Twitter followers right now.
We just broke into the 3 figures on Twitter as well. And so I think that those things probably indicate at least low 6-figure viewers or listeners on the podcast.
Wow. Low 6 figures.
Because it's like 3 and 3. You like put them
together and that makes sense. Yeah. Well, so our guest is the co-host.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
What was that, Austin?
It's all about depth. Gary Vaynerchuk was talking about this. He's like, he would go on podcasts. He's like, it's all about depth. It doesn't matter if it's only 30 people, as long as they watch it till the end.
That's right.
Let's get him on the show.
It's the most important 30 people in the world listening to
the show. Absolutely,
our show.
Absolutely. So I completely agree. I feel so much better about the show.
I do too, Austin. You made us feel better today.
Thank you, Austin. So our guest is the famous Austin Brawner. He's the co-host of E-Commerce Influence. Check it out at ecommerceinfluence.com. Amazing podcast. I've always listened to podcasts the last couple of years, but I've been hooked on this show now for several months. I've listened to almost every episode. And so awesome to have Austin on the phone today, hailing from one of my favorite cities in the world, and that's New York City. So Austin, welcome. Nice. How's it going, man?
Hey, great. Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that you listen to it. It makes me feel good. And we're all in the same boat. We're all chasing Andrew Darian over at E-Commerce Fuel. He's got the really successful podcast.
Yeah. We had Andrew on the show before, and then when I emailed him to have him come back on again, he's like, "Wow, summers are really busy for me."
Yeah, Darian's the worst. I guess is what we're trying to say.
No, I love Andrew. Andrew's awesome. He's a good guy. So we'll have him back on the show at some point as well. So, Austin, aside from running just a killer podcast, you work with merchants all over the country and potentially internationally, helping them grow their customer base and grow sales. I've heard stories and seen case studies, and I know you guys are rocking it. So we're talking today about 3 ways that you can turn interested visitors into loyal customers. And so you want to give just a kind of an overview of what you guys do, and then we'll dig into some really good content.
Sure. So what we do is we help e-commerce companies, mostly brands. A lot of them are in either retail or like lifestyle brands, create a customer journey from when somebody shows up at a website, like for the first time. Maybe they click on an ad from some of the work you guys do, click on an ad, and they go to the website. Then we focus on capturing their email and taking them all the way through the journey of the brand from their first experience till the end of their time working with the brand, and explaining, basically increasing value through each step. So once you capture the email, taking them to the next step, which is making a purchase. Once they make a purchase, how do you get to the next step, whatever action you want to take, whether that's referring a friend, whether that's making a second purchase, writing a review, whatever it is, we analyze, figure out what we want to do with the business and what we want customers to do, and then create that customer journey for them all the way from the start to the finish.
That's fantastic. It actually smells a lot like what we call at Classy Llama, the natural order of e-commerce, which is taking users through that cycle of becoming a customer and then engagement after that fact, and driving it into a cycle where they come back, as well as encouraging others to come to the site for the first time.
They become an evangelist at some point, and they start sharing and referring.
Giving a story worth sharing and that sort of thing. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's like what we talk about is being in the business of driving more profit. Profit comes from repeat customers, not first-time customers. Mm-hmm. And that is the goal. You're only going to create a lot of profit online if you can get your customers to not only buy once, but to be on their mind all the time when they're thinking about whatever your niche is, and you're the first one on their mind when they go to make that second purchase. That's the whole goal, is to drive profit through email marketing.
So I honestly didn't read the notes very well before the show.
Shocker.
I didn't read them at all,
but
Brett kind of talked it through a little bit. So
yes.
Are we focused? I know we're focused on turning visitors into loyal customers. Are we focused on how to get them to engage after the first purchase? That
even before that, I think, right? Because you have to get them to engage to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
I know the first point you talked about, Austin, was looking at how do you bump the opt-in rate, right? So getting someone to at least raise their hand and say, tell me more. I want to know more. Or I want a coupon, or I want to hear the story, or get a guide, or whatever.
Yeah, what's your magic formula for doing that?
The magic formula. Well, I think the magic formula, like most marketing, comes down to the basics and implementing the basics well, right? So when you talk about getting somebody to sign up and taking somebody who you spent money on, a lot of times if you spend money on AdWords, you spend money on Facebook ads, whatever you spend money on to drive that click, you get them to the website. 99% of customers don't buy on their first visit. So you need to figure out a way. You got to figure out what they want. What's the in-between step between them seeing your website for the first time and making that first purchase? If you can figure out what the in-between step is, then you can display either a pop-up, you can just have an email capture, and your goal is to then get them to move from just a visitor to what you call a subscriber, right? So you want to switch that.
So can you give some examples of what are some in-between steps? So walk us through maybe a couple.
In-between steps. The most basic in-between steps, you see it on almost every website, is some sort of a discount or a coupon, right? That's simple. That's like the most basic, 15% off, free shipping, whatever it is. Don't give it away on your website just with a coupon code. Put it behind an email subscription. That's going to help quite a bit. So from there, that's a great place to start. You then would want to move to other things that we like to do, are buying guides. If someone's searching for, say they're searching for traditional wet shaving gear, whatever it is, they want to find out what they need for wet shaving. You can put together a buyer's guide, the ultimate buyer's guide. They can click and download into their email. They'll get that, and then it relates directly to their products. Free products as well. If you have, let's say you are running a bike store, right? What do all people who are biking need? They need patch kits. Little tiny patch kits. So you can give away a patch kit if someone signs up, and on their first order, they would then get something added as kind of a bonus on their first purchase. There's lots of things you can do, but typically it's in figuring out what can be added on to that first purchase that someone's naturally going to make, because it'll get them to sign up right away, even if they're not ready to make the purchase like today.
Yeah, so this is this is so important, because if you don't, I've said this to many, many merchants, if you don't get their email address, the only way that I'm aware of, and you guys might correct me, but the only way that you can actually connect with them after that is through retargeting, which is a passive, non-engaging, point. It's still effective, but it's just not nearly as engaging. You cannot be proactive with it. And business, no matter whether it's online or not, is all about building relationships.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a proactive way, it's like you meet someone and you're like, oh, I kind of like to be friends with them, but you don't get their phone number.
Right.
And so they're like, well, I sure hope that they see my billboards around to contact me and be friends with me. I mean, if you don't get their phone number, good luck trying to be friends with them.
Right.
Same thing in business. You have to have a way you can reach out to them. So, I just think that's so important to emphasize that. Give them every opportunity to give you the opportunity to engage with them in a relationship.
And let me ask you this. Go ahead.
Well, I want to just to touch on your point, right? So the other way, there's two ways. A lot of times people just focus on that little checkbox at the end of checkout that says, I would let you know, yes, you can email me.
Right.
Right. So, and that's not a very effective way to capture emails. A lot of people rely on that. If you can capture somebody on the front end with, say, a pop-up or an opt-in, and then they go through the entire process, you already have them opt in and subscribed. So they don't even have to select that little button, and they're going to be on your list because they've already opted in for your marketing. So it's really important to, even if they become a customer, to make sure you focus ahead of time on capturing their email.
Yeah, and the modal pop-up has become a super popular way of doing that. You know, right off the bat, you know, you go to a site, it's gotten so rote for me. I just hit the X every time I go onto a site. I'm like, I'm not going to give another email address, right? I don't even read what the offer is most of the time.
But what if you got a great offer or something you're really interested in?
Then it's possible. Then it's possible, right? But what if we got really creative with it? What if they were on the product details page and it shows a price, and then you build in something that says like, submit email to show best price or something like that. And then you get really, then I think you really start ramping up your opt-ins, or, you know, get creative with how you're getting those emails, and don't stop doing what everybody else does, because there's a reason they do it, but start doing some other things to get those emails, because they're so valuable. You can actually put a monetary value for every email address that you get. You can attach a monetary value to that. Because once you go through the process and you see, here's the revenue we're generating through your email channel, and then you go back, divide it by the number of emails that you captured, and
simple math.
There you go.
Absolutely.
You have a value per email address. So you can just print money by collecting email addresses.
One thing Brett said, you know, about the offer, right? The offer is the most important thing. It's what people neglect. There's always, everyone's like, oh, I hate pop-ups. I close them out, right? Well, look at the Sham Wow guy. This is the example I always use. The Sham Wow guy is annoying as hell. But he sold millions of dollars because he makes a compelling offer. You sit, people would watch him for 30 minutes as he bounces around doing ridiculous things, but he makes a really good offer at the end, and they still buy.
Yeah.
So no matter how annoying you are, right, you can look at it from an engineer's perspective. A lot of times they're like, I would never, you know, enter my email in a pop-up. A huge percentage of people do, because they want a good offer. So that's the key. Starting there would be.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most important things I ever learned from Brett. And I've learned a lot of good things. He's contributed a lot of good things in my life. But one of those most important was that value of creating an irresistible offer and being so intentional about that and being careful about that. Because if you get that wrong, it doesn't matter how well you present it or what your channels are, how big your audience is, you're missing out.
Yeah, and I think there's like this progression that someone goes through. Because I've noticed this with the TrueView videos on YouTube, the pre-roll videos. It'll pop up and you're like, oh, I hate this. And then you're like, oh, well, that's kind of a cool offer.
Yeah.
This is kind of a cool video. And then you get sucked in. And so I think it's the same way with email pop-ups. At first you're like, get this thing off of my screen. But if the offer's good enough, or I also love it. I love the ones where it says, you know, get the best price here, or no thanks, I prefer paying full retail. Like that's what you have to click, you know, to get.
Very effective, absolutely.
Yeah,
very effective. And you can also, there's companies that are charging a ton of money for them. There's been a whole influx of new companies coming out that are charging much less. Like Bounce Exchange is the most popular one, but they're charging $5,000 to $10,000 a month.
I saw that. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, for a small e-commerce company, it's not going to work. You can create your own. You can build your own. You can go use a company like OptiMonk, which is cheap, like $29 a month to get started. And it works.
OptiMonk, how do you spell that?
OptiMonk, O-P-T-I Monk, M-O-N-K.
Gotcha.
Also,
Unbounce is a good one, right?
Unbounce is different. Unbounce is a landing page creator, so you can create landing pages without IT.
Gotcha.
So, So are you guys still there? I'm seeing a little.
Sorry, yeah, you froze up there for a second. You looked super awesome, but now you're with us again.
I think we're back. I think we're in business. So,
but once you actually capture that email, that's actually where a lot of the work begins, because capturing emails is fine. That's great. It's a big part of it. But then you got to figure out, okay, now you captured the email. How do you get them to make their first purchase? Because
can I ask one question first, Austin? Because I think this is important. Because I run into merchants a lot who will say, "Oh, I hate pop-ups. We're not going to do it."
Yeah.
Can you just talk briefly what the opt-in rate difference is when you go to a pop-up versus just something static at the bottom of the page or on the side?
Okay, let's say the most recent results we've got over the last, say, 10 clients. On average, if they have just a bottom footer that says subscribe, they're usually at like 0.1% opt-in rate, around that area, very, very low. And we'll put together a compelling offer with a pop-up, bump up to 5-6% conversion rate.
In other words, it's like 500. Am I doing the math right? It's like 50 to 60x.
Something like that.
Results.
Yeah.
So here's the problem, though, Brett. The problem is people are in my position where they're like, oh, I always just click it and close it, right?
Yep.
But the problem is they're thinking about their audience like themselves. You guys are all you merchants out there being egocentric. You're gonna stop that. It's not you. You're not your audience. So
That's a good point.
That's my feedback.
That's a good point. Great point.
It's a simple question. I mean, if you're not doing it, your competitor probably is. And what's happening is your competitor is building a database of customers while you are not. And down the road, they're going to be getting more profit because they're going to be able to email these people over and over again. And the chance of you being able to have long-term success without building a comprehensive list and database of potential customers and customers is very, very slim, especially with the commoditization and everything going to Amazon. That's your best opportunities to have that list of customers.
Your best asset.
You're crazy. I mean, you're not thinking long-term about the value of these people if you're not going to put in a pocket. I hear the same thing all the time.
Something worth mentioning to merchants that's less condemning than my last comment is that, I think a lot of times merchants feel a little bit like they just don't want to impose. They don't want to be, they feel like they're being annoying in some way to the users that come to their site. But I think it's got to be that thing where you are so confident about the value of what you have to offer that you're willing to be a little bit intrusive to say, hey, I really want to build a relationship with you. I want to deliver value to you. And this is the way that I'm able to do that. And yes, will some people burn your books? Maybe, but that just means you're a good author or have a chance of being a good author.
And I may be, actually, I think if you view it from the aspect that I owe it to my customers to give them the best chance to buy from me, and to get the most out of my brand and get the most out of my company.
Exactly.
And so I would be doing them a disservice if I didn't really push them towards the email list.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it also, moving on to the next section is you talk about people being frustrated and then saying they're not going to use the exit pop-up. Well, what matters is how you then treat the person that just subscribed, because that's the next step, right? You want to move them from subscriber to customer, because there's two parts of your marketing. There's the marketing that you display on your website. There's the marketing that a pop-up is part of your marketing. There's your value proposition, and then there's your product. Whatever your product is marketing. Their experience with that product is marketing. And if you don't give them the opportunity to give them as much of an opportunity to make that first purchase to experience the second half of your marketing, you're kind of selling yourself short. You're not giving them the experience of, let's say, the difference between looking at an Audi and driving an Audi, right? Mm-hmm. If you're looking at it, you're just seeing the website. The moment you drive an Audi or a nice car, you're actually experiencing the rest of their marketing, which is the entire experience of using their product. Mm-hmm. And so that's the whole goal, getting them from subscriber to making that first purchase. And we're pretty aggressive in moving people through that position, because until they become customers, they can't really understand what the brand is about. So,
in a business, a general business, the conventional wisdom is making your first sale is the hardest sale you'll make. It's the same on a microcosmic level with an individual customer. Or an individual relationship. You've got to make that first sale, and once you make that, the rest are much, much easier to make, because then they experience your product and whatever else. You're just really engaged at that point. So, you said you're really aggressive. How are you really engaged with getting that first sale?
Generally, we're the way we view email marketing, the way I think that a lot of people have ruined the email marketing channel, not ruined it, but they've damaged it by just constantly discounting, right? All they'll do is they'll get lazy and they'll send their entire list a kind of batch and blast discount coupon for 15% off. Mm-hmm. We are very strongly against that once you've got a group of customers. But on the front end, we want to do whatever we can to get someone to make that first purchase, to acquire the customer, whether that's at a lower level, if you just can get them in with, let's say, a discount or some sort of we do a lot of personalized sales. So we'll, in our automated sequence, when somebody subscribes, if they don't purchase right away, then we will launch a evergreen sale that makes it seem like it's only coming, let's say, once or twice a year, but it's just happened to launch for them after they become a subscriber, and it's time for them to make their first purchase, because the sale's not going to come back again for another 6 months or year. So it's really about creating that individual kind of marketing experience as they go through. It's timed out so that they receive a sale when they're potentially ready to make that purchase, and it should be a no-brainer for them if they're going to choose between, say they're on 2 email lists, they signed up for yours and your competitors. Well, if your competitor is not following up with them and you're launching a like half yearly sale for them that only is really for them because it's automated, the chance of them purchasing from you is way higher.
And Austin, you guys do something that almost nobody does. I'm guessing like 1% of merchants maybe. You guys create sequences. So as soon as someone opts in, you've got a full sequence mapped out. And of course, everybody's has the welcome, thank you for subscribing, that kind of thing. But you guys create a sequence. And so what you were just talking about is this very personalized sale. So maybe 3 or 4 days or a week or 2, whatever the case may be, they get a personalized email that says, hey, there's a special event. This only happens every so often. Take advantage of it. Can you talk about some of the other ways you create a sequence? There's a couple of you guys do that I really like.
Yeah. So the way we think about this is we want to basically indoctrinate a new subscriber to your brand or to your company, and to explain the most valuable parts of their business, just like a salesperson would in a store. Right? If somebody came in to a store and they were chatting and explaining the value of the company, they're going to be hitting on the key points that you guys want to bring up. So we will share whatever, behind the scenes of the brand if somebody subscribes, and share why they should choose them versus going to buy a similar product on Amazon. We will go through and share some of the best content, right? If you've got a piece of content, maybe a blog post that went kind of viral or a video, we'll share that in the indoctrination sequence to get them to understand the value of your brand versus everybody else out there, and combine that with offers to get them to make that first purchase.
Love it. I remember I was at a barbecue restaurant one time. I don't remember the name of it, but our waitress came out and she said, hey, is this your first time here? And we said, yes, it is. And she said, well, let me tell you a little bit about the way we cook our ribs. And she started talking about the ribs, and she said, and what we do with our rolls is a little bit different. They're fresh yeast rolls, and here's how we do it. By the time she was done, I was like, I love this place.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I want to order everything you just said.
It's amazing.
Whereas most would just come in like, hey, what do you want? So what would you like to order?
Yeah, or like the sushi place that I went to in San Diego, where they're like, if you ask for salt and pepper, we will politely decline. It's like they believe in what they just. I'm like, like stick it to me. I like that. There's something really special about this.
Yeah, that's great.
It's good stuff.
No, it's true. Okay. It's just all about building up the perceived value of your product and allowing them to understand, because you've got so much. Ideally, if you can have a conversation between, say, someone of a small business, if you were to be able to, as a business owner, talk to every single customer and explain the value behind it, you would get a ton of sales because people would understand what you understand. If you can communicate that in your email marketing, then it's automated, it works for you, and continues to sell for you.
It's amazing. That's good. So, okay, so you close the first deal by building this relationship with them. Great concept of building a series of automated emails, which, by the way, just an interesting thing. I know a lot of companies spend a lot of time on their blog to create content on their blog consistently. It's like those blog articles, it's good for SEO and it does, reach people, but there's also a reality, like building out a series of automated emails is kind of like building out a blog series that's specifically for those that are most engaged with you. And yet people spend all this time on the blog. They're not spending time on creating, content that's delivered through the much more engaged email channel. I think that's worth mentioning. Yeah,
totally. And I love how you guys pick out the right ones. So it's almost like, hey, you're new to our company. Here are the best blog posts and the video you need to watch. And once you're done with that, you'll know who we are, and you'll know how to buy, and you'll know how to get the most out of this experience.
It's like take the content you've already built out and make it really impactful for your most engaged,
Exactly.
That's great.
Don't let it get buried, That's a lot of people let it get buried, and it's, they spend all this time, and just dig it up and put it in the email content.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we have a customer. Now, what about keeping them engaged, after the first sale and developing and nurturing that relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that we think about this is, and if you do any research on the ways that customers interact with your business, typically like 30 to 60 days after they make their first purchase is kind of a key time period to be able to either bring them back to make a second purchase or hit on any other sort of desired outcome. So there's merchants that are listening that say, oh, I'm selling a product that they're only going to buy one time. Let's say it's like a water filter or something, a one-time thing. So for those type of companies, you got to figure out what your desired outcomes are. They don't have to be let's say a secondary purchase, but what else is valuable for you? Writing a review, referring a friend, explaining yeah, those are the two big ones. Explaining your loyalty program, whatever you have as a merchant, and getting that information over to customers. So the way we like to do this, we focus on something called a net promoter score.
Very familiar.
You guys familiar with this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So a net promoter score, let's say you've got, this is something that's interesting because a lot of times merchants will just send out their reviews to everybody. You know, you'll have an automated email that goes out and collects reviews. Maybe it's Yotpo, maybe it's something else. That's fine, except you are sending review requests to people who potentially could be just unhappy with your company, or you may have an unresolved issue that you still need to figure out. So the way we focus on this is by first surveying and finding out how likely on a scale of 1 to 10 people are to refer their company to a friend. Once we determine which bucket they fall in, and there's typically 3 buckets. There's detractors, which are the people that are on the low level 1 through 4. Then there's kind of passive, which is in the middle, and then there's promoters, the people who are actively saying, like the 9s and the 10s, who they will promote your brand. So we, instead of focusing on one like post-purchase sequence, what we do is we divide them up into 3 different post-purchase sequences. And the people who said they had a bad experience, we're only focused on minimizing their bad experience and trying to figure out a way to get back in touch with them and make sure that whatever went wrong, we solved. So whether that's sending an automated email that says, hey, I'm sorry things didn't work out that well. Here's the number to our customer service team. Is there any way we can help you out and try to solve that problem before they go and blast you on Yotpo or whatever it is for some
Twitter or whatever.
Yeah. It's like this series of, you stepping back, it seems like it's all a series of chemistry that has to be, very carefully, intimately considered with your particular user base. I know you're talking about, well, it depends on how long after the first sale would they be interested in buying again. If it's apparel, well, gosh, there's probably other things they could buy right away from you. Yeah. And so you might focus more on offering them cross sells and things like that. Yes. Whereas if it's a longer purchase curve, or it's a a refill of some sort that maybe 6 months down the road, you got to keep them engaged. And so it's a different strategy. So it just seems like as you're building this out, you're reinforcing that idea that this is it's a chemistry that has to be very carefully tended from onset all the way through to follow through, which is a kind of an ongoing follow through forever, as long as you have the relationship. So I think that's really important for merchants to understand that this is, as with anything, when you take a shot, you take it really, really well. And in the case of email, you're looking at it as a chemical, like photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis.
Am I getting too
I don't even know
macrocosmic here?
Yeah. I mean, we always just think of it as, how would a human treat another human if you were in a brick and mortar in a store? If someone came back in, or someone,
that's simpler.
Like if somebody comes in, they make a purchase, they buy a shirt or something from your store, and they come back in and they tell one of your salespeople that they were really happy with their experience, just like, let's say, clicking on a 10 out of 10, likely to refer a friend. Well, then that's a good person to ask for something else. They've already indicated that they're so happy. Well, if a testimonial is something that you need for your business, you ask that person. You don't ask the person who is not happy with your, because
who's growling at checkout,
small or whatever it is. They're just a grumpy person. There's a lot of grumpy people out there.
Yeah, I think that's great. That survey of getting that feedback to find out where they're at and being reactive to that sounds awesome. Like an amazing
and mapping
approach.
Out those sequences. And I'm just telling you, almost no merchant does this at all, and even fewer are doing it correctly. So actionable bites.
Yeah,
I think, for me, I also like focusing on the beginning of this process because I like the math of it. But if you think about adding some kind of creative pop-up or light box and going from 1 out of 1,000 visitors opting in to 5 out of every 100 opting in, that's massive. That's a game changer right there all by itself. And then you got the beauty of the other points as well. So
or you can do the thing that I said, and on the product page, give them the best price when they submit their email and get creative with it. You could do that too. That's gonna be a lot more work.
A lot more work.
So maybe you should just do it like everybody else and not be special.
So where would you suggest some?
I think it's a great idea. If you got a very expensive product, that'd be huge. Furniture, whatever. That you can capture so many emails.
No doubt.
without question.
I think it's a great idea.
It's a good idea.
Thank you.
Let's run with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So also, email is photosynthesis.
There's chlorophyll in there. The rays of the sun. Oh, wait a minute.
No, I think it's good. It's a relationship. Like Austin said, it's a relationship. You really, really, really have to think about these people like they're actually people and not some sort of, faceless user out there. These are real people. You got to build a real relationship with them. And unfortunately, you don't have that face-to-face contact with them at this point. So,
Yes.
Email is a great opportunity to do that. And you really want to be intentional about that because it's hard. It's like pen pals. It's hard to develop a relationship via email.
Well, Brett said he likes math. I like math as well. And I think that it's so simple if you break it down. Each one of these steps, right, from just taking your opt-in rate. So website opt-in rate, that's the first step. You can increase that by just 5%. Then you can take the number of people that opt in to purchase, the second level, and increase that by 5%. And then once they make a purchase, increase the number of people who come back and make their second purchase, increase that by 5%. That is a huge
There's a compounding effect there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a compounding effect. And it's also so attainable because if you look at your business and need to just improve a process by 5%, you can pretty much figure a way out how to do that. It's not daunting. But if you were to say increase traffic by 15%, a little bit more difficult. I think it's a great place to start, and just seeing huge rewards by focusing on that and diving in and just going small tweaks to increase each part by 5%, all the way from top to bottom of the funnel.
Although you might accidentally increase by 500 or 600% when you just have your little pop-up mode will come up instead of having it in the footer. All of a sudden, you just opened up to the top of your funnel wide open. So this is definitely an area. If it's untended garden for you in your business, you're probably going to have much better results than just 10, 15, 20% increases. You can really make a business out of it. So
awesome. So, awesome stuff. Hey, check out the podcast. Also, I know you guys have an amazing resource when it comes to email marketing, platform agnostic. So you guys are all about getting results and the plan and the process and the strategy. So if someone wanted to get more into the brain of Austin and your business partner, Chad, we love Chad as well, how would someone get a hold of that resource?
The best way would be to go to ecommerceinfluence.com/insider. But you can just go to ecommerceinfluence.com and we have an insider section where we put a lot of our best training, some of our ebooks that we've written about email marketing and about email marketing for e-commerce. You can just sign up and you have access to all of it. You've got some webinars that we've done about email marketing, how to set these things up. That's the best place to start, and you kind of go from there. ecommerceinfluence.com, and then the insider section.
Awesome. And if you're on Magento, I'll give a plug to 3 companies I really appreciate. One of them being Headworks. They have the follow-up email extension that's really, really great. If you need something a little bit more engaged, need some support in getting things set up, MageMail, Kalen Jordan at MageMail does a great job of helping you set that up.
Also podcast.
It also has the podcast Mage Talk. And then if you want that another level up, really being able to do complex matrices in your sending campaigns, Mailer is a really great provider
phenomenal.
as well.
Johnny Dixon there and the gang.
Absolutely. You've got 3 levels of email support on the Magento platform as well. So we really recommend those. Well, I think that Ott is going to give you a digital high five now. So here we go.
Here we go.
Yes.
High five.
We appreciate it, Austin. Also, in other news, I'm leaving the show and never coming back.
Oh man!
Sorry, was that an awkward time to drop the bomb?
No, that's great. That was good.
I told everybody though. In my bottom third,
I was wondering when you were going to bring it up.
And Kurt is leaving.
This is like, hey, Austin. This is like you're on the final episode of MASH. Only the show's going to continue. The show's going to continue and possibly get better.
Or the final episode of Seinfeld.
Just blew up. Twitter's blowing up right now about this.
I know it is. I know.
What does this mean about Phil the Llama? When will Kurt be back?
No, Phil the Llama might still be back. But no, I'm gonna leave this to Brett because Brett just eats this stuff for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep, a little bit nerdy as far as that goes. But you said you'd be coming back fairly regularly, so Kurt will make an appearance quasi regularly on this show, which will be good.
Yeah, Brett. Yeah, where's there? So I think it's time for me to say all the things I've held back from the show up to this point. I actually think,
where's the stop button? Kill this. Kill it. Kill it.
No, I'll just say one thing. I actually think that Brett is a really, really, really great guy. And I know I gave him a hard time this whole show, but Brett's been a huge contributor into my life. So I love Brett.
Should we hug it out right now?
No,
okay,
no,
good.
that's enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
I think we should just conclude the show now.
Yeah, good, awesome, Austin, man, what a privilege to have you on the show, and so cool that you got to be on Kurt's last show. Although it's really not his last show.
All right, folks, you all out there, you stay classy.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it. It was really fun, and anytime you guys want to come and talk on the e-commerce influence podcast, we'd love to have you on as well. So
sweet. Thanks a lot, Austin.
Thanks, Austin. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Take care.